Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today for the 3 keys to maximize your email marketing. My name is Barry Williams, and I am joined today by my colleague Rachel Foles.
Hi, everybody.
So I come with about a decade's worth of digital marketing experience, everything from automation to email marketing to print and digital advertising, and a whole lot more.
Yeah, and I've been in marketing for over a decade, starting in media, moving into nonprofit, and I've been in software marketing for about 18 months now, but in every single one of these roles, email has been an integral part of it.
Yes.
So we're bringing to you about 20 years worth of email marketing experience, and we're excited to share what we've learned.
Great. So let's just kind of start off with why are we talking about email marketing? It's important. We all have it as part of our mix, but I think it's important to actually start thinking about why we're using it, why we continue to use it, just kind of put everything into context. So this is a stat I love. 86% of people prefer to communicate via email for business purposes. This was a part of HubSpot's 2017 inbound or state of inbound study. For context, 60% of people prefer face-to-face, 56 indicated a preference for phone, 39 social, 38 video, 31 messaging. I think it really shows that people are looking for that one-to-one connection. You see that a lot with email and face-to-face, and then also with the phone. Those 3 being at the very top surprised me a little bit.
I think it's great news for marketers. An email is something you carry with you throughout your life. Once you establish an email, you usually keep it. So that is a very scalable way to communicate with your audience. So I think that's really exciting statistic.
We also think that email marketing is a great way to establish a strong brand with your audience. Just general tip, make sure to use consistent branding and colors throughout your emails. This will reinforce your brand at every touch point and let your audience know who you are and what to expect.
Yeah, I think brand colors are really important, and picking some colors that you can live with on all platforms as you're building out your brand is really important.
Particularly if you're not one of the 4 companies you see in front of you right now. They all have spent a lot of time already getting to the point where they are. So it's nice to be able to, get involved with that as well.
Another thing that email marketing is really great at is establishing a brand voice. Every time you send out an email, you're setting the tone for how you're going to communicate with your audience and what they can expect. That's a great way to build the trust that you're going to establish in that relationship. So whenever you do send out email marketing, you've got to make sure that you're delivering on all of those brand promises. Did you give them a premium? Make sure they get it. Did you offer them content on a set schedule? Then you better be doing that. Every time that you don't, you are hurting the audience's trust, and then you're going to end up in the place of death, which is the bad place. Unsubscribe.
Yeah, we all want to avoid that. We're going to just throw out a short poll right now. It's how do you think your audience prefers to receive promotional content? You'll see that popping up right now. We'll give you a minute or so to fill it out.
We can't vote.
No, we can't.
I think we know what we'd vote for.
All right, so about 83% of you have voted. I'll give you another 10 seconds, and then we will share the results. Oh, never mind. We already hit 100.
Wow,
Thank
you guys are
so
overachievers. Yay.
Here are our results. We pretty much align with the results from the state of inbound from HubSpot. I find it very interesting. 75% email, 25% social media, nothing for the other 3. I know it was a choose one, and the state of inbound was you could choose multiple, but I think it really does go to show you that the email is still one of the preferred methods of engaging.
Thank you guys for participating.
Now that we have your results, 72%, that's eerily similar, and then about 17% for social media. Another reason why email marketing is so important is that it really helps you engage with your audience. You need to be able to communicate with the individual and not treat every member like they're the exact same person. It's a two-way street instead of just projecting out.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. I think that is something that people are craving more and more is true engagement.
Then we have some dollars and cents for you. This is from Experian. For every dollar spent, you get a little over $44 back in ROI. This is also twice as efficient as online ads, so just for bottom line reasons, we suggest sticking with email as part of your marketing mix.
Absolutely.
And then 40 times more efficient than social media. So I think it just goes to show you that we're all strapped for resources. It's important to make sure that we're spending the time in the best way that we can help out our audience or customers.
I think marketing teams everywhere are really struggling with where is the best places and ways to spend their time or how to maximize what they're already doing.
Yeah.
So I think that these statistics go to show, like, when you're creating your marketing mix, you have to be results oriented.
Because there's so many different directions and new methods and tools popping up pretty much daily. So it's hard to figure out which direction to go sometimes. But let's start with the reason why we're all here. So we're pretty steeped in email here at Cerkl. So during this webinar, we're going to share with you 3 keys to email marketing success that we found work for us and for our partners. We're going to start with an overview of the 3 keys and then dive into each topic in a bit more depth. The first key is knowing your audience. So truly knowing them. We'll go through some of the methods later on in the webinar to learn more about your audience and some of the benefits of getting that knowledge.
So we all know that content is king, but relevancy for us is queen. Your audience is expecting relevant content. They signed up for your list for a reason. They're looking for you to provide those insights and thoughts on what you do best. So when you're developing and delivering relevant content, it's really important that they're getting what they expect. You want to keep the trust, and we'll talk a little bit more about the best ways to do that.
And finally, the third key to email marketing success is to build and maintain a great list. We're going to walk through some techniques that help you attract new members to your list, as well as making sure that your list is properly maintained and you're not going to be hurting your sender rating, so you can keep sending out your content to your audience. All right, now we're going to dive into knowing your audience.
I have to pause for a second. Does this not look like Prince Harry's future wife in the center there?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's good. It's a good selection.
Although she looks like she's already married.
Yes.
So everyone in the email marketing space is experiencing diminishing returns on that one-to-many communications. You're not alone. We're all experiencing that. So we've officially left the era where sending the same message to your entire audience is sufficient. Excuse me.
It was really great while it lasted, though.
Yes, it was. It was fun.
But I think they expect more, and I think we're able to deliver that more so with different solutions now.
Yes. So the first step in doing this is to learn about your audience. There are different levels of sophistication to acquire this knowledge, and later we're going to discuss both segmentation and machine learning, which are 2 of the methods that you can do to learn more and figure out what content will resonate with each member as an individual. And then this is just kind of a general tip about sending out emails. Responsive isn't optional anymore.
It really isn't. I think, we're seeing that more and more emails are being opened on mobile devices, and those responsive experiences need to continue beyond just the initial email, which is minimum, but all the way to how your website is designed. Something that I've been researching pretty extensively is the idea of accelerated mobile pages and these instant loads for people on mobile devices. People are still giving the most credence and the most attention to the content placed above the fold, newspaper term, but everything that kind of appears in the first load of a screen, that's the first 350 pixels. So something that is super important in that send, you need to make sure that's in the top. Another little tip for you is to make sure that your text is aligned to the left so it's immensely readable. We're seeing your questions come in, and we'll make sure to get to those. Another thing, when you're writing a bunch of text, make sure to break it into chunks. You do not want to have some wall of text that people have to mire through. Kind of lower the amount of fonts that you're using. Make sure there are web-safe fonts or a web-safe alternative so you can guarantee that when it arrives, it looks the way that you intend it to. And try to get a good balance between the amount of text and graphic in a message. Not only is it prettier, but also it will be more likely to be read and enjoyed by your audience.
Definitely. And then also just use your stats. So we're going to walk through some of the common statistics that you will receive from your email provider, discuss some of the insights you can gain, particularly when you implement A/B testing alongside of it. As Rachel knows, this is kind of where I nerd out, and I'm excited to nerd out with you. So we're actually going to follow this up with one more poll, or we have a few more polls, but we have another one coming your way about what is your most important stats. So launching that now.
I feel like we should have queued up the Jeopardy music.
Oh, that would have been fun. I apologize. Next time, soundboard. Wow, you answered that all within 15 seconds. Thank you all so much. So I will be sharing the results with you now. So yeah, that aligns with a lot of what is important in the industry. So click-through rate, open rate, and unsubscribes. We're going to talk about some of the methods that you can use to help with all of those. So let's move on to that. So we're going to start a bit basic here, just go with some definitions for you. So open rate is one of the easiest to understand. It's really the percentage of emails that are opened from the overall amount that are delivered. I think knowing that it's the number that's delivered that you're starting off with is important because it doesn't count bounces or hard or soft bounces, so it's really the number that show up in the inbox. And the national average for open rate is 19%. And click-through is the percentage of those who are opened, who opened the email and then clicked on a link. So for those of us who think in numbers, the way I like to think of it is, let's say we have an email campaign where 1,000 are delivered, 200 are open, so you have a 20% open rate, which is a little above the national average, and then 6 people click on the email. That 6 number can feel really small, but it's really not bad because that's a CTR of 3, which is a little above the national average as well. And then this is where it gets fun, at least for people like me, because you can really unlock the power of email marketing when you combine your understanding of email statistics with some A/B testing. A/B testing, also known as split testing, which I think is a nice way of thinking of it. If you look on the screen now, you'll see our A and our B. One's a bit more visually rich, the B, where we have that large header image, and then A has a smaller image with text to the left. So you're kind of testing different variants of the email there. So it's really comparing those two versions and seeing what works, and you're just going to keep carrying the lessons from iteration to iteration to iteration and really making your work more powerful.
Now, were you going to talk a little bit about how to design the best A/B test?
Yeah, we'll have some tips on that.
Cool.
Let's start off with some talking about like what you can test.
Yeah.
So I think there's so much you can test, but some of the easiest ones to start with are terms, phrases, names. I know one of my favorite entries into it is subject lines, and then call to action locations or coloring, and then sending time, much more. This could be its own webinar.
I think it probably should. You're really excited about this.
Yeah, it might be one day. But then combining it with the understanding of the different statistics is really, really powerful.
You know, and I would suggest anyone who's kind of doing their own email marketing to make sure that you understand your statistics and that your platform that you're using for email marketing has very actionable data, you know, not just a big spreadsheet of nonsense, but you need something that you can apply to your daily.
Yes.
And to take time to look at the data and interpret it and figure out the best way to use it for your organization.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think if you're at the point where you're looking for an email provider, make sure that they're going to provide you with those robust statistics that you need, and that it's not buried. You don't have to generate and export a ton of reports just to get something. There's so many great tools out there that have really simple to use dashboards. One of the things I like to do with open rate is just implement the A/B testing to help you know the best time to send an email or to hone the keywords or subject lines. Those are some of the stats that you can be tracking with A/B testing to see what is more effective. If the A subject line gets people to open your email, you have more people in the door, which should hopefully also help with your overall click-through rate as well.
Right, and when you're iterating and iterating, if you're logging those tests, you can really hone in on what works best.
Yes. And then CTR with A/B testing helps you figure out what content your audience is interested in reading. And then you also figure out how to hone your call to action, where you're placing it, if you're using a button or a link. But there's so much to test. So setting up A/B tests is slightly different based on your provider. Some of them will have their own built-in tools. I think there's a pretty simple 6-step, I know 6 steps can be a lot, process, where you can just kind of get started in terms of the thinking. So I would say start by determining what you're testing. So if you want to test subject lines, that's what you're testing.
So one thing at a time then.
Yeah, really, I wouldn't suggest, particularly starting out, doing multivariate testing is what it's called, just because you want to figure out what's working. If you're testing two different things at the same time, you may not know what leads to the greater overall open rate or click-through rate. So I really suggest starting that with one at a time. And establishing your goals, and then start your campaign with 2 iterations. That's sending it out into the world. And then tracking your stats is super important. And then the 5th step is declaring a winner. And then the 6th step isn't really a step, but I'm putting it in there, which is to document the test. So you're doing that throughout the entire process. But make sure that you're documenting, tracking everything as it goes forward. That way your lessons that you're learning are being carried forward.
So after you've established your relationship, the second key is really delivering relevant content. You need to continue to deliver relevant content that speaks to their specific interests and why they trusted you with their email address in the first place. You've got to think, when you have their email address, you have their most precious thing, which is their time. Users are really expecting now to receive content that's relevant to them. I mean, their online experience is very personalized. For example, Netflix, whenever you sign on to Netflix, it's telling you exactly what you should be watching next to a percentage. This is 99% for you. You're like, well, yeah, I should probably do that. I mean, Amazon probably knows what I'm getting my mom for Christmas already. So these experiences are very standard to what they're expecting now, and there's no reason why you can't bring that same experience to your audience. So if you're not delivering that relevant content, they may not come back. You know, you will end that relationship and how hard you work to get that email. And we'll talk about building your list. And there's a lot of work that goes into building your list, and it's a loss when you lose people. So we're going to ask you a quick question. How do you currently personalize your emails? And they'll come up.
All right.
All right. I think you guys are going to make the record.
It's pretty impressive, the amount of participation we're receiving today.
You guys are
Thank you all very
fantastic.
much. We'll give you about 5 more seconds if anyone else would like to answer. All right, great. Thank you so much. Let's share the results now. So to the question of, do you personalize your emails?
Awesome.
Thank you. That makes me so happy. It helps my heart. So we have 90% who are currently working to personalize their emails, and 10% who are not. So thank you very much for sharing. When we think about personalization, though, I think it's really important to remember that personalization isn't just dear insert first name here. I think everyone's kind of gotten used to that. When I receive an email that starts with my name, I no longer think they know me.
Right.
So they know that's not real personalization. You want to make sure that you're delivering that expected, rich, and complete experience that they'll want, so that you can avoid being marked as read.
Yeah, it really differentiates you when you offer really relevant, true content and respect their inbox.
Yeah, because we live in a world that is just full of digital noise, and in order to break through that, you need to have that one-on-one connection. We're all expecting to be able to listen to music or watch movies based on our demonstrated preferences, and email really should be the same.
Right.
Based on our research, we found the following about personalized email campaigns. That with interest-based personalized subject lines, there's a 128% increase in open rates. That with interest-based content, this one blew me away, was a 451% increase in click-through rates. That corresponds to 24% CTR, which is insane to me.
So a lot of people's first kind of pass at delivering more relevant content is segmentation. Segmentation is a way of, if you don't know yet, segmentation is a way of splitting up your audience by demographic reasons or location. But segmentation really makes a lot of assumptions about who an individual is. So we can no longer really get away with sending someone an email just because she's a 35-year-old woman. We have to know what that person's truly interested in order to really engage the audience. So I'm going to give you an example of the Breakfast Club. For those of you who know the Breakfast Club, if the Breakfast Club were in an email segment, they would be in the same email segment for a variety of reasons. One, they're the same age. Two, they live in the same town. And three, bonus piece of data, they all go to the same high school. But no 5 people could really be more different, because I would think Molly Ringwald would be kind of a Lily Poulter, and Ali Sheedy's character would be kind of like an Essie Hot Topic kind of gal. So the messages that they would expect to receive couldn't be the same, other than, I guess, you have detention this Saturday would be the only message they had in common.
There, yes.
Yeah. So it's really important to move beyond segmentation into something that we use at Cerkl called machine learning, where we base what content you're receiving on your actions, not just, you know, who you are demographically.
Yeah. One of the things that's popped up throughout our conversation has been the need to break through the noise. Based on our research, we found that a way to effectively break through the noise is to provide communications that, one, add value to your readers, or ideally, save them time. If you can save your audience time or provide meaningful value, you will move to the top of their must-read list, which helps out both of you in that relationship. Yes. The average, which I feel like this stat has to be updated, or my inbox is an anomaly, but it says the average is that we receive 100 emails a day. I feel like it's more for me, but the average is 100. So being trusted by your reader as either a value provider or time saver will help you and your organization by being something they want to read.
Absolutely. You want to be in a relationship where they see your email and they're excited to hear what you have to say, not feeling like, oh, another thing from them. You want to feel that, like, yes, I want to know this.
I'm tired of marking 25 emails as read every morning when I look at my phone.
So we've done a lot of research about the art of a subject line and what makes an effective subject line that's going to resonate with your audience. We'll go over a few tips here, and then after the webinar, I'll send out my big best practices infographic for you guys that you'll be able to go over. So I think that'd be really awesome, something to have. But we'll go over a few of our favorite tips here. The first one is 40 is the new 65. For a long time, it was you could have a 65 character headline and that was going to be great. It was going to appear wonderfully in the inbox, but now everything's mobile. So you really need 40 characters guarantees that your subject line is going to show what you want them to show. Great subject lines are short, they're personalized, and they say something about what the reader could expect inside that email. So it's a good tease to bring back journalism from long ago, but it's a good tease to show, hey, if you open this, you're going to have something. Now, if you go with a 65 character headline, you don't know where that ellipse is going to show up. 40 guarantees everything that you typed is going to be there and show up the way you expect it to. 65 is going to creep you into ellipse town, which you do not want.
You don't want the best part of your copy to turn into an ellipse.
I mean, a quality pun, you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, so if you're going to pun, pun at the front.
Right. You want to give your audience a great reason to open your email, so your subject line is truly your call to action. We're all fighting for attention. We're trying to let the readers know exactly what's going on, why they should open your email. So don't miss that chance by having a lazy or unrelevant subject line. You want to make sure. So like we discussed earlier, interest-based personalized subject lines can increase your opens by 128%, and that's because people say, what's in this for me? And you're answering that right in the subject line. Oh, the spam words. Now, you want to avoid the spam box because once you're spam, it's so hard to get out of it. You don't want to have all that hard work get routed to the spam folder. Yes. So there's a lot you can do to prevent it. There's actually a really great list that you found on Com100. I think you should send that out after the webinar.
Follow-up email as well.
Yeah. So here's some key words to avoid. For anything that kind of makes grandiose promises, that's going to be flagged by the spam folder. For you, gift certificate, once in a lifetime. If you bust out that 3 exclamation marks, that's one of those things where your mailboxes have gotten smarter, and they're really trying to help the consumers with this noise issue. They know that their people are receiving a ton of emails, and they're trying to help them by putting those off into spam, and you don't want to be one of those.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that you're not going to just lose out on the person who you got routed into their spam folder. It's going to hurt your deliverability ratings overall, and you're going to just really be hurting your overall email marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
So this is another area that I really like to geek out on. Sorry to get too nerdy with you, but building and maintaining your list. So now that we know our audience and delivering relevant content to them, I think it's important to talk about building and maintaining your list. A strong list will help you expand your reach.
Absolutely.
And make sure that your emails are continuing to be delivered to your audience.
It makes your work worthwhile too.
Yeah, definitely.
To know that they're going to very eager customers.
Mm-hmm. So we've done a lot of hands-on research here to develop some of the best practices and how to grow your list and make sure that it's properly maintained. I think we were talking yesterday, like we were picturing the bonsai of our email list to make sure that we're correctly pruning it to make sure that it stays healthy, happy, and whole. We're going to do the last poll of the day, so I hope that you'll keep up the awesome participation. Thank you. So the poll is, how do you grow your email list? And it's launching now. Thank you for the people who are sending us their other suggestions. That's really appreciated. So we're gonna say some of those out from the chat once we close the poll. Thank you. We're gonna close it in about 5 seconds. All right, great, thank you. So here are the results of the poll. About 9% purchase a list, 73% use opt-in forms on their website, 45% from in-person events, 18% offer incentives, and then 27 others. So some of the others that we received are register on our website, automatic student lists. Great, those are great suggestions, thank you. So we're gonna just kind of now walk through some of the methods we found. Spoiler alert, the 9% who purchased a list might be mildly disappointed with what I'm about to say, but I promise it's not meant to hurt you. So our first tip is, don't purchase a list. While buying a list can be a tempting way to try to add many people to your list at once, you get that quick win, it's like an adrenaline rush. These won't be strong leads overall for the long term. Maybe I'm speaking too much in like a absolute way, but for most people it's not a great way of finding strong leads that will work for the long haul for your organization.
Right. Because people who opt in or ask for it, they're automatically more invested in what you have to say.
Yeah.
And it gives you a bigger likelihood of success of your overall goals.
Yeah, and whenever I receive promotional emails for things that I never signed up for, that's what gets marked as spam. So by doing that, the company, by buying my email address, the company really hurt their deliverability ratings because I'm sure I'm not alone in marking it as spam. So it's really, it goes back to the relationship thing.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure that you're building and maintaining that relationship. And then all of our 73% who are using their opt-in forms, congratulations. Your marketing efforts have delivered people to your website. It's great. Now we just need to make sure that we're getting their information.
Right. It makes perfect sense too because they're already to your website. So they're already choosing to engage with you. So you just need to make sure that when people arrive on your website, you're giving them the opportunity to join you.
So there's a lot of different ways you can use opt-in forms. 6 of the options are up right now. So pop-up, fly-in, below the post, inline, locked content, widgets, many, many more. I think it's important to always remember, test. What works for me won't work for you, or vice versa. It's always about your audience, what is most effective with them. So I like to suggest just testing throughout your website, seeing what's most effective.
Which 2 would you start with?
I would, well, you know that you and I don't always agree on the best opt-in. So I would probably start with the pop-up and below post because they're kind of opposite ends of the spectrum.
Okay, so you would test those 2 and see which one had the better.
Yeah.
Do you also test against what the click-out rate is? Like how quickly they click out or leave? Yeah. So what are the variables you test against for something like that?
So I would see the number of people that sign up would be my primary one, and then if it is making people leave, and if it's that's definitely one of my concerns with the pop-up, is that people are like, well, never mind then. And you want to make sure that you don't have an audience that would be too overly sensitive to that. So if you're finding that people are quickly leaving your website, you're obviously overstepping your bounds.
So it's good to kind of design those tests with that in mind if you're getting started with something like this.
Another option is a standalone landing page. This was one of the more invasive ones, but I find it effective for things like signing up for a webinar or for downloading a white paper.
Right.
I don't find it as appropriate for your homepage.
Yeah, I would prefer not to have a gated homepage.
Yeah.
Come in, play content playground, destroy the microphone, sorry for that.
And then we have a popover, which I find to be less intrusive than the whole landing page, but you do have to worry about people maybe clicking away from your content.
Yeah, I like an ability for a hasty exit.
Yeah, so maybe if
an apparent hasty exit.
If we had a big X in the top right corner.
A little gray X, just in the corner, I'd be all right with it.
Then offering incentives is a great way of getting people to join your website. They sign up to be able to get the incentives that you offer. There's a lot of great incentives. We'll go over a few of them here, but really think about what's most appropriate for your organization. So white papers are great. It's a premium piece of content that can be leveraged as an incentive to sign up for your list. They've already demonstrated interest in your content, and the white paper kind of is the next step. So you're going more in depth. Make sure that you're delivering that depth, though. I know it's frustrating when I sign up for things and I receive a 3-page, 28-point font PDF.
So in general, no one should ever deliver a 3-page, 28-point font PDF. I think your white papers are very key to that kind of strategy when you're willing to put the time in, and the visuals, the graphics, the links, the research. So a white paper is something that you're really a deep dive, about something that you feel very knowledgeable about. So you can provide real value and save them time. You've done all the research. They don't have to go do it. That comes into that save time and add value that we discussed earlier.
I think a lot of the incentives we're going to discuss really do hit at that. Leverage your expertise, put your passion into it, and deliver good results, because you don't want to hurt your brand reputation and you don't want to abuse that relationship that you're establishing with your audience. So video access, I think, is another great incentive. It seems to be on a similar ground to me as white papers, because it's an in-depth dive into things, and I think just people have different preferences when they're consuming content.
Yeah, I think they have different appetites for the type of content that they're going to be enjoying, depending on what value it provides them. Once again, sorry to come back to the value, but if you have a video or something else that you can gate because what you have there is proprietary or exclusive, then that's a good place to use gating.
And then, not too much of a wink, but webinars are also a great way to demonstrate the quality of your services and provide real value to your potential audience. Really like prize drawings as well. They work in person, they work online. My big warning, though, is make sure that actually relates to your work. Everyone's going to sign up for an iPad.
Yes.
So may not be the best way to find the right leads for your organization.
Yeah, I would say that the prize needs to reflect the values of your organization and the goal of getting their email address, as well as the method in which you get the entries and the people that you're marketing to for the prize. I think that all comes together, but when you get the chemistry just right, it's a great way to grow your list.
Yeah. And your social media channels are another great way to interact with the current audience and add new members to your audience. Each channel has their own suite of tools, so you have to really learn them, but they help you convert your social visitors into members of your list.
Right, and that's a good, that's like fish in a barrel, right? They're already engaging with you one way or another, so you're just asking them to deepen their engagement. So if you're delivering great experiences on these platforms, it's a great way to ask them to convert to becoming a real close member of the family.
Yeah, and a few of the opportunities. Twitter has some great ones. The Twitter card option I like. You can create a lead generation card button that will increase the size of your list. A stat that I read from Twitter, I believe, was that the cards drive 43% more engagement. You can also just put a simple sign-up form on your Facebook page so that your current audience will sign up for your email list and get information from you that way.
And you can actually change your call to action on your Facebook page. They have a couple of different options, and one of them is sign up. So.
Great. And then engage with your welcome email. You've got people to sign up, so you want to really deliver with this first email.
Right, it's your first impression, right? It's the first impression that they get of what their relationship with your email list is going to be like.
Yeah, so don't waste that opportunity. If you promise an incentive to join the list, deliver it now. Make sure that they're getting what they expect from you and that it's high quality. I think you should thank them for signing up. It's simple, but don't forget to thank people for signing up.
And that's a good way to also use your brand voice. So if you're a very kind of a stiffer organization, you would, be more, I don't know what I'm trying to say. The moral of the story is, like, if you were signing up for Cerkl, we'd be like, hey, thanks, that's awesome, but that's us. I think your welcome email should really reflect how you are.
Yeah, and then a little bit more nuts and bolts. Just ask them to add your email address to their contact list. This will help prevent you being put into their spam or promotions folder.
You do not want that.
And then list maintenance. So while it's important to get them on your list, we need to make sure that we're pruning that list and that we're making sure that it's healthy and that they're going to keep having high deliverability and avoid being marked as spam.
And I think that's key, because churn is one of the things that's really going to hurt your ultimate goal of getting the right people to get the right message. The churn is going to hurt you. So by taking good care of your list and making sure that you're paying attention to it, you're not losing people that don't want to be lost.
Yes. I know it was a bit of a mystery to me at first when I started working on the list maintenance side, but super manageable once you learn the basics. We're going to just kind of walk through some of that right now. So do you know the difference between a hard and a soft bounce? Rach found this great cartoon, which I think does a good job of showing it.
I just love him so much.
I know.
What's his name?
Oh, I haven't gotten that far.
Yeah, I want to call him Herb.
Okay, yeah, it works. We're in. But Herb is having trouble with the hard bounce. He's not going to be able to get in. As you can see, that's a brick wall.
Yep.
Soft bounce, there's a better chance. So you might just have to wait to get in. So generally, it's just when your email message is not delivered. The hard bounce indicates the message was not delivered because the email address was invalid or does not exist. Soft bounce could indicate a variety of things. So
right. The mailbox.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're cool. The mailbox could be full. The server was down. The message was too large. It could be maybe you had some words in there that the server didn't agree with. Different organizations have different types of security with their soft bounces. So you need to learn what to do in each instance. So I like to have human eyes on both types of bounces, so we can look for typos. Like with your soft bounces, some servers will give you a soft bounce when you have a typo in the address if it's a large organization. So if you might have typed @Gamel as opposed to @Gmail, that might be an example of something that might soft bounce the first time, but ultimately hard bounce. You want to have your bounces, no matter what they are, in a monitored address. People could reply to your emails. So you want to make sure that the emails that you're sending are from real email addresses, so you're able to see if someone replies or has feedback. There are sales opportunities in there. There's ways to monitor how effective you're being at your ultimate goal, so make sure that you have everything that you're sending from a real address.
Yeah, so if my email were to bounce and I had left my position and it said, contact Rachel.
Right.
It's a great opportunity to keep that conversation alive with that particular organization and not just delete somebody because they bounced.
Right. Or they could have changed last names. That's another thing. Like
Sure.
if somebody gets married or whatever, like their last name could change, and that could be another place that you might get hit with a soft bounce like 4 times before they finally give you the hard bounce, because ultimately they got rid of that email address. So names change, domains change a lot. If an organization changes domains, you're going to get soft bounces if they have good IT people. Soft bounces until you get the ultimate hard bounce.
Speaking of hard bounces.
So before you delete that hard bounce entirely, you're going to want to double check those emails, make sure that you haven't been marked as spam or that one of your delivery methods in your email system is faulty. If you see that you're getting a bunch of bounces from one organization, you might have to click some link that says, hey, I'm a real sender and this is okay. So once again, it comes back to there needs to be a little bit of human eyes on your bounces to make sure you're not losing people just from errors and not verifying things correctly.
We like to give users a choice. So whether that's paring back the content that they're receiving when they click and unsubscribe, so that we've all seen it. If you unsubscribe from Gap, you can say that you no longer want to receive emails about sales, but you would still like to receive emails about their latest fashion and trends. We'd also like to give people options about changing the frequency of the content, the timing, layout. Language is a super important one.
Yes.
So if you have a Spanish-speaking audience, give them the option to receive it in their native tongue.
Yeah, and these are the choices that people are kind of expecting now. So to get something on a set schedule is very strange for consumers now. Or, the opposite problem could be that maybe you have a problem with making sure that you're delivering on a normal schedule.
Yes.
You could be really, really ramped up on marketing one month, but then next month you could forget to do email marketing altogether. So kind of giving the users a choice of the frequency and everything is really key.
Yeah.
Plus the way that they like to receive it, I think is really neat too.
Yeah, and I think there's this great stat about 49% of email newsletter unsubscribes are due to just the emails being a little too frequent.
I have to tell you that I'm living this right now because, Black Friday into Cyber Monday, I'm like,
yeah,
you're all up in my anytime minutes.
A lot of Giving Tuesday as well.
Giving Tuesday, yeah, it was raining yesterday. So, and that's a relationship that you need to develop and maintain. You can't just make it rain those days.
I saw on Twitter a joke yesterday that this week should be known as Marcus Red Week, which I enjoyed. Another option you have is re-engaging stale members. This could be through a series of emails to subscribers that haven't opened, clicked, or read your content recently. You can change the frequency that they're receiving emails. As we mentioned earlier, almost 50% of unsubscribes are because there are too many emails. And you just really want to give your members the option to personalize their experience with you. And it's back to the relationship thing. Give them what they need to maintain their relationship with you.
Right. Some people are very busy in the summer. Some people are very busy in the fall. You want there to be systems in place that hear out that these people are too busy right now but might want to ramp back up. You need to set some systems in place that you know when to increase the frequency or decrease the frequency. It really shows the sensitivity to how busy folks are.
Okay. And then if the re-engagements don't work, it's time to move on. This will, while hard, help you reduce your bounce rate, improve your open rate, your click-through rate, and your overall reputation. I do find it mildly delightful / ironic that we have a Valentine's Day image to portray this, but it is time to move on from the relationship for the overall health of your list. Then we just kind of briefly want to talk about what Cerkl does now with all of this. Like we said earlier, we steep in email. So it's really one of the things that we think about a lot. Implementing all three of the keys that we've been talking about takes time, money, staff resources, and it's difficult to implement true personalization using some of your legacy systems.
Right. Sometimes you're trying to shoehorn 21st century solutions into an older software that is just not getting you where you need to go, or even close enough.
And then we've baked in a lot of the solutions that we've been discussing into our product. We've had some of our partners say that they've saved 40 hours a month, which is really a week's worth of time that you can spend doing other mission critical tasks. So as we've said, one-to-many communications has come to an end. You really need to engage with people based on who they are. Sending a story on innovation, sports, and communication to the gentleman in the middle won't necessarily resound with him, but if you send it to the woman at the top of the image, she'll be interested in that content. So really knowing what to send to the right people will keep you and them engaged with one another.
So we're saving your team time and readers' time on both sides because we're automatically taking everything that you're already doing and delivering personalized experience to your entire audience. You get the time back and they get the time back. They're getting what they want, so they know that when they open your email, it's going to be full of things that are valuable to you, not only because of what they say they like, but also due to what actions they take with your email. And that frees you up time to start producing more content, to feed your social channels, to feed your email, because everything you're doing goes all the places as opposed to playing copy-paste for 40 extra hours a month.
We also take care of some of this maintenance on the back end for you. So when we notice that your audience is checking out, Cerkl just kind of starts stepping back the frequency in which emails are sent until we hit the point where they are engaging with your content on a regular basis. And then also the bounces are taken care of on the back end as well. Doesn't mean that you still don't need some human eyeballs on there.
You still need people.
Yeah, it goes back to the Gmail versus Gmail.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that your data entry was done correctly. I know from past experience working in the event space, if you have a sign-up sheet at a conference, Some people's A's look like E's and R's look like T's. So just really make sure that you're putting that human touch on top of all of this.
Each member of your audience has a preference about how he or she is going to receive that content. Cerkl, not only we allow people to tell us exactly how they want to get the content. We could have 31 million types of one newsletter go out for one of our organizations with all the same content, but just the way that it can be laid out with our different templates, and we lay it out automatically, or what preferences they chose from their topics. So it takes all the labor and all the guesswork out of it. We're just taking what you're already creating and making something beautiful out of it.
Yeah, I wish I could have back some of the many hours I've spent designing newsletters at past positions.
And then you put the picture, and is it the right size? And then you paste the link, and did you put the right link?
Oh no, it doesn't look good in Gmail.
Oh no, yeah.
So it takes away all of that effort and guesswork. This I love. It's the content opportunities. On the left, you'll see that there are the most popular topics for your list. And on the right, this is some of the real power of Cerkl, is the content opportunities. So this lets you know that your audience, based upon their preferences and demonstrated interests, would like to see stories. So for this instance, it's public affairs, public service. Let you know that maybe that's the next piece of content that you write, because that will be resounding with your audience.
And then, you know, if you're feeding your audience exactly what they want and you have no content opportunities, you can always turn to your most popular topics to say, oh, I didn't realize that 5.7% of our audience wants to know more about jobs and internships. Once again, that guesswork piece, that question of will this be valuable is gone, because the data shows you exactly what you should be writing about.
This is just kind of some of the results quickly of how Cerkl work. So our national average, or our CTA is about 6 times the, CTR is about 6 times the national average.
That's the slide.
Thank you. So that's us, and it's the other guys. And also about twice the average national open rate as well.
Yep, 41%.
And if you are interested in finding out more about Cerkl, we would love to talk to you. So you can always schedule a demo by going on cerkl.com/demo or emailing our friends at sales@cerkl.com.
So we're going to answer some of these questions, yeah?
Yeah. And then if you'd like to contact either of us, that's our contact information. We'll leave you with that slide.
We should have sat in
I know. I'm regretting that as well.
Yeah.
So we'll start going over some of your questions now. One that we received is, how quickly should I follow up after adding someone to my list? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I would say as immediately as you possibly can.
Yeah. I think try to reinforce your meeting with them as quickly as you can. As I mentioned, come from a lot of event space. I've been working in the event space for a while, and if you're meeting somebody at a conference, you're one of, what, 40, 50 tables at a conference, so you really want to lessen the amount of time for them to forget you.
Right.
So I would always set up some marketing automation emails to make sure that we're getting to them quickly.
True.
Let's look for some of the other questions. The text is a bit small. Oh, so it's a concern about not having enough content for consistent emails. Any feedback on how to manage the expectations that more specificity means more content?
So one of the things that I think that Cerkl does really well, besides, you know, we're pulling your blog, we're pulling your Facebook events, we're pulling your Eventbrite, we're pulling your videos, everything that's being produced by you guys. Another thing is that you can easily share trusted sources. You can share them as a one-off link in your newsletter, so that might be media mentions or other businesses or organizations that kind of are in line with your what you're trying to do for your people. I believe this is a library or a student, like any, I'm trying to give a specific example. When I was a Cerkl client at a library system that I worked at, one thing is that I would pull in book lists from you know, BuzzFeed or Huffington Post to add more content to our newsletter. I didn't produce the content, but I curated the content for our audience because I knew it was something they'd be interested in. Any media mentions that you have are another great place for your Cerkl newsletter.
Great.
Yeah.
Another question we received, and I don't know the answer, so I'm hoping you do. Address accessibility issues for students who may be using a screen reader. You know,
you can zoom in, and you mean is, I want a little bit more clarification on that. Kelly, maybe we could
we'll follow up with you afterwards.
Yeah. I definitely want to help you with that.
Great. I'm just going to write myself a note real quickly. So another one we received was, how much time does A/B testing take? That is such a it depends question. It really depends on what you're testing, how long your campaign's going out there, if it's going to 50 people.
Right.
Is it going to 5,000? So the entire process can just time-wise take up to a week, but the amount of time that you're putting into it can really vary based on what you're testing. It can be a few minutes to a few hours.
I bet it's like a bell curve where it's a lot in the beginning and then a little in the middle and then a lot at the end.
Yeah. So and then once you get more used to it, everything gets smoother.
When you're a super nerd like Barry over here about it, what are the questions we have?
I'm trying to click to it. My apologies. I'm having trouble with my screen right now.
That's okay. Move over here.
Okay.
Aha.
You found it.
No, I thought you had it.
Oh, I did. Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Is the click-through rate appreciably different for different content sources, YouTube versus a blog, for example?
So the click-through rate is a total aggregate of all your content. Video and email is something that everyone's really, really talking about, how to deliver a video experience and email that is outside just clicking on it. I can give you more exact statistics for YouTube versus, but we know that quality content always wins and relevancy wins. So I know that that's not the perfect answer to what you're trying to figure out, but I would say as long as you can promise that when they click on that they're going to get a good experience, you'll have a good click rate with it.
Okay. And then this one's about a little bit more specificity, or trying to get some more of the tips. So some more tips for creating strong subject lines. I know we're going to be sending out the full piece afterwards, so don't ruin everything for them. But if you have any one or two top tips that you loved from it.
You know, keeping it short is always a challenge, but you want to be specific and personal and clever. I think that you want to avoid those spam words like we talked about earlier. Those just super duper key. And just try your best to front load the most interesting thing to make sure that they're getting what they want and you're delivering on that promise.
And then, not to beat a dead horse or overly tip my hand about being interested in it, but test it. Just keep testing and figuring out what works for your audience.
Yep. So this person's curious about how the email works, so the email list itself. So your email list can be managed a couple different ways. You can create segments like we talked about. The segments that we would suggest creating would be more so about if you're at a multi-tier organization and you only want a portion of your organization to receive it, another portion of your organization, that would be the segmentation that I would apply. Otherwise, Cerkl does a really good job of figuring out what of all the things that you have to offer would be best for each member of the audience individually. We have found, and some of our higher education partners have told us that Cerkl helps kind of remove the interdepartmental drama for them because it really, it's kind of a democracy. Everyone can put their content in, but ultimately it's the users and their patterns and behavior that decide what they get. And so if you don't think it's interesting enough to go out to a list of 10,000, it might be interesting to 10 people and let those people get it. Awesome, and you're kind of off the hook.
Yeah, they get exactly what they want. You don't have to play internal politics.
Right. Well, for me, I think one thing is, like, for my college that's pretty famous for basketball, I don't really care about college basketball, but I would have liked to know that they built a new theater. And I never received that information because they were too busy talking about basketball, which meant nothing to me, and didn't talk about the things that meant a lot to me. So that's kind of the engagement crisis, is that they had to decide what was best or closest to the interest of most people and instead sacrifice the interest of individuals.
Another one that we received was, what are some ways to capture leads at events? So I've done a lot of this. One is, depends on the event. So some of them have the little badge scanners that you can rent for $400 or $500, whatever they are. Those, I like to say, are worth the investment if you have over 1,500, 2,000 people that are attending the event. But they're a great way to get the data that you need, although check on the actual lead retrieval system. I've paid the money, looked at the lead after they walked away, and saw that I just received her first name, which is useless for email marketing. So make sure you're getting good data from that. And then some of the super simple ways still work. So create a sign-up sheet if you don't have that lead retrieval so people can write their names. Or
business card bowl.
Exactly. It's a nice, that one actually is so much nicer than the sign-up form because you don't have to worry about that. Is it an A, is it an E problem? They have hopefully printed their business cards correctly.
Well, that's fingers crossed. And another thing is that they're really interested.
Yeah.
It looks like you have another question. Do you have any specific tools for A/B testing that you would recommend?
A lot of what I do is pretty manual still at this point, so I have insane spreadsheets, but I'd be happy to follow up with you, Nate, with some other tools that I found.
Cool. Looks like Christina has a question. Does Cerkl work with iModules or Blackbaud? Yes, we have a variety of integrations. We have specific integrations with iModules and Blackbaud. Some of those are listed on our integrations page on our website, but I'll be sure to send those lists to you as well.
Great.
Pretty much anything that has an API, we talk very well with it.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting, if you have any sort of retention manager whatsoever, having that data flow both ways, that interest data, especially for something like Blackbaud, we're going to deliver the interest data of your audience into your CRM if you have an integration, and that's going to help with the prospecting part, to know that when my college called me for alumni donations, to not talk to me about the basketball team uniform and instead to talk to me about the new theater needing puppets.
And so we have one more question that was pre-submitted, but we also have about 4 or 5 minutes left if anyone would like to submit one last question. So one of the pre-submitted questions was, what kind of prizes do you suggest to get leads? Which was well done. So definitely know your audience. I think if it was Cerkl, what would be a good one for us?
So we've given away gift cards, but it seems like there's kind of a glut of that kind of stuff at a conference, so you need something that differentiates you. We gave away a speaker one time, speaker prize, just to speakers at the conference could come by the booth and get a speaker.
Yeah, I think it's a clever way of doing it too, because you're helping to figure out the best way to speak with your audience. So some of the speakers were people who were probably decision makers who might be interested in Cerkl, so get them to stop by your booth so you can start those conversations. So which I think just underscores the point of think through it. iPads definitely have glitz. People will pick up pens from any desk that they walk by, or if they're like me, pick up a glasses cleaner from literally anyone that's holding one in a convention center.
I like the sewing kit.
Oh, nice.
And I actually use all the bags.
Oh, really?
My grocery bags are like a tour of my career.
So those are just a few, but like we said, just think through whatever would be most interesting to you. So we have about 3 minutes left, but it looks like we are out of questions. We'll give you about another 10 seconds or so because we have really enjoyed our time here with you today, and if you have any further questions, we'd be happy to take them, but sometimes ending early isn't the worst thing in the world either.
We're going to give you 5 extra minutes of your life back.
Yeah, see? Look at that.
Yeah, we're already saving you time.
Oh, well played.
I hope we provided you value today.
All right, well, thank you all so very much. We'll be following up with the tools that we promised you and a short email that will have a link to the archive of this as well in case there's anything that you wanted to re-explore. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and thank you for spending part of it with us.
Thank you.